I'm excited to talk about your game mainly because obviously we used what a lot of people would consider very controversial. I find it more something that will be expected as things go on for sure, which is using from all I know so far, you use AI for your music. Uh,
Yes.
what other did you use anything else, or was it just the music that you used AI for?
Currently, I'm also using it for the voice acting.
Oh wow, oh that's
I
interesting.
have like a mentor figure character that guides you through the tutorial and is
Mhm.
kind of the person that you do quests for story wise. So
Mm.
yeah, that is also AI generated. And also recently, I realized that also some very minor textures or something I also generated with AI. But
Yeah.
usually, yeah, AI might have to amend the the disclaimer on Steam a little bit, like, but because I said no visual art is generated with AI, maybe I have to delete that. But maybe I will also replace them at
I
some
would
point. But
I feel like you don't even need to give a disclaimer. Like I feel like people are expecting it more, like AI in general being used in some form or fashion within games
yeah,
well, what's interesting to me is like in business, AI is so uh embraced. It's
yeah,
just like in business, people just like the second AI came out, it was like, how can we use this to the best of our ability?
yeah,
And then the polar opposite when it came into like the creative space. The creative space was like, don't you dare use AI. If you use
yeah,
AI, you're a pariah. Like get out of here. Nobody wants you here. And I found to me, I've come more from a business background. I thought that was so interesting to be
yeah,
like, why is there such this like polar opposite? Because in the business world, like I said, there's so much embracing it, like they chat GPT, anything that they can get their hands on with AI to make things more efficient, they're 100% trying to do it. Where in
yeah,
the creative space, it's like, no, if you didn't draw that by hand or hire somebody to make that thing, or musician, a voice actor, etc., code, all of the above, you're basically trash. And it's like, well, wait a second. Wait a second here. I was like, for smaller solo devs and creators, this is an awesome tool for them to be able to come, like, basically make their vision or their idea actually come to life.
yeah.
So that's just my opinion on it.
I guess it's maybe because there, I think, always was kind of the tension between like business and art. I mean, art is for the art's sake often,
Mm,
and not to really make business out of it, right? Because art
mm,
should just exist for the sake of it. And I think that's probably part of it. But
yeah.
yeah, but
Well,
I can understand.
what I find interesting too is just like your tactile art form. Let's just say, I don't know, somebody that wants to let's just we'll keep it at games. Someone
Yeah,
that's drawing sprites and things like that. I'm like, that's never gonna just go away. You know what I mean? Like that's like, even if someone's using AI, or if there is more of a push into the direction of using AI, your ability to draw pixel art or sprites or things like that, or hand draw things, is never going away. I mean, you can still do that. Like nothing stops you from doing that. And it's all about goals, in my opinion. I'm like, if your goal is to make something completely hand drawn, and that's your, that's the thing that you're trying to sell, well, then that's what you're trying to sell. You're not trying to sell it. For you, if it's like, I'm trying to create a really fun experience, the art isn't the most important thing with my game. And I'm not saying that, obviously, like you just said, like
yeah.
the art
Well,
is
the art is also not only in visuals. I mean, I and I can elaborate on that a little bit more when we talk about how the game came to be. But I like, for example, I'm a very um, motion oriented guy. So
mm,
I like, for example, I love dancing,
that's right. I
and
remember you telling me that. Yeah.
yeah, and so I hope to create an experience that combines this with like the fantasy of casting spells and in
Yeah.
an immersive way. So that's why like the music is an important part, of course, but
Mm,
the actual part is like translating the music or feeling the music
mm,
and bringing this into motion and and with that fulfilling a goal by defending your castle or something.
right. No, I mean, that's an excellent point for sure. That is an excellent point. Like you just said, your goal was the motion. That was the
Mm.
goal. Obviously, that's why it's a VR game, and why you have to be in this space and moving around. And so that totally makes sense now. I'm actually curious. So who your capsule's amazing. So who did your capsule actually?
It's that is from an artist I found on Chris Zukowski's Discord actually.
Oh, that's funny. God, that's so funny.
um,
God, I should probably
yeah,
join his Discord.
I just wrote a message and then I saw some of his work and yeah, I also messaged some others, but they were out of my budget, unfortunately. So, but he did a great job. I mean, and he was also very like very good to get feedback from me. I
Mm,
we had a couple of iterations, of course. I mean, I had kind of a clear vision of what I wanted, but he translated that very well. I mean, I didn't have, of course, the exact what it should look like, only that there should be these particle streams and
right.
this magic streams and the hand, um, and how it is like placed. But
Mhm.
he made the visuals, of course, and the colors and stuff, and
Mm.
also the logo he designed. So yeah, it worked quite well.
It worked very well. No, yeah, I will. The capsule is very. It looks. I mean, it's a really clean capsule. It's a really good, catchy looking, good colors, like everything works with that capsule for sure.
Thanks.
Yeah, and so as far as just, I'm curious, like how well known in like your marketing endeavors has it been that your music is AI generated? Is it something that you're very open about, or is it something that basically if somebody asks, you'll say something, but realistically, you're not really trying to talk about it. Almost like it's shameful. Like I don't find it shameful. I think it,
Yeah,
like I said, well, I don't need to relitigate what I just said, but yeah, I'm curious.
yeah. Um, I am a bit careful, like you said, like I will
Mm.
not write it on the front of my page. Um except for the Steam page has like this section like AI usage disclaimer. I have to write it there or something. And I if I hide it, then that would be bad. So I'm open to about that, but
Mm.
usually I will wait for someone to ask. And but then I will just say how I feel about it. I mean, I couldn't make this my own, obviously, and having artists make it is very expensive, and licensing
Oh
well-known
yeah.
music is even more expensive. So it helps me tremendously, and
Yeah.
it actually enables me to do this project. Otherwise, I wouldn't be able to do it.
Hmm.
It's that simple. And as I said, I am aiming if the game proves viable, I'm aiming to also include human-made music.
Yeah, human made.
That
That's
sounds
funny.
funny when you have to say
It
that.
does sound funny.
Um, and because first of all, there are some songs I would love to license.
Mm.
Um, if I would be able, because they just fit so well into the
Yep.
theme and into the motion aspect stuff. Um, but yeah, of course. But and I want people to say when they see the trailer on YouTube or something, like in other rhythm games, in Beat Saber or in the other game is called Ragnarok. That's also a
Mm.
famous rhythm game. And they say, "Oh, they have this band or this song, and
Oh yeah.
I only want to play it for this or something like that."
Yeah.
Yeah. So the recognition uh, of known artists is also a selling point, I think. So I think it makes sense.
Yeah. And so as far as just what the community is from your marketing that you have done, and as far as where we're sitting, as far as wish lists and attention on the game. Like, how are we feeling about that? Like, what does it look like? Like, where are we on wish lists? Like, what's the goal eventually? Like, is this is this like the new career path, or is this like a hobby? Like, I'm curious as far as your goals with this game and where we're
Yeah,
at right now.
yeah. So I started developing this game as a side project to my full-time job, but from this year on, I am doing this full time,
Mm,
and I as as an experiment, let's say, because if it doesn't work out, I can return. But of course, I would like to continue developing it and expanding it. There are so many ideas for this, and every time I show it to someone, they say, "Ah, this would be cool. This would be cool," and
mhm.
I say, "Okay, in VR development, the mantra is under promise and under deliver." So um yeah, so I have to keep the scope very, very small, or as small as possible.
Mm.
And but of course I would like to be able to live off of it if that
Oh
is
yeah.
possible. But yeah, right now I'm also streaming the development,
Mm,
because I heard that this can also help with, of course, wish lists and
yeah.
community connection, because there definitely the aspect of community building is very important for Rhythmic, because um, in the future it will be possible to mod it and to create maybe your own songs, import your own songs or something, create your own
Mm,
scenarios. And um, Beat Saber, for example, also has like a huge modding community,
mm,
relatively, for this kind of game. And so I would like to create this as well with Rhythmic.
mhm.
And for that, I just want to be as close to the community as possible, and yeah, even be able to chat with them and hang out with them in my Discord, in my Twitch and streams.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, right now, the marketing is, yeah, it started slow, I would say, but I think it. The thing is, I have, of course, a smaller market with giving
Right.
VR. Most people that come to my stream or uh, see me on Discord or in Reddit, they always say, "Oh, it looks cool," but I don't have VR. So many people actually still, of course, I mean, this is not a surprise, but many people
Right.
still don't have VR. And until that changes, I mean,
Right.
I always will have a smaller market, from the get-go. And then I mean, of course, I'm a subgenre in the VR section,
Mm.
and I'm combining two subgenres that are also quite niche. Well,
Mm.
tower defense is fairly big, but
Yeah.
yeah, in when I see Chris Zukowski's like
Oh,
statistics
yeah.
where he does like which category, which genre does well on Steam and stuff.
Mhm.
VR is always at the bottom, and tower defense as well. So yeah, I picked a very small niche, I think,
Yeah.
and yeah, but I think my strategy for going forward will probably be to find some YouTubers that like to play these kind of
Mhm.
games. Because there are, of course, some YouTubers that do always like Beat Saber stuff and other
Mhm.
rhythm VR game stuff, or just VR in general. I mean, I think this could be a fun game to try out if you're a VR YouTuber. And
Mhm.
yeah, and I heard most, or wasn't most, but many people find new games via watching their favorite YouTuber play it.
Yeah.
And
Mhm.
I think a lot of marketing is kind of low ROI. Um, but finding YouTubers that want to play your game,
Hmm.
it could be quite huge, I think. And
Yeah.
that's why I also think about how can I reward the YouTuber for playing my game, for example, to put them in the game,
Hmm.
or give them a more developed version or something that they can show stuff that is not available otherwise. So yeah, I'm thinking about that a lot and trying to implement that as well into the game. Yeah, and that's the strategy. So I'm not a huge. Uh, Before I started all of this, I wasn't a huge social media guy, so I don't have much experience with that. And yeah, my post frequency is also quite low, so that
Hmm.
doesn't work for me either. Yeah.
Mm. Yeah, I mean, it's interesting you brought up that uh the where the way marketing is kind of gone, and there's a couple things that I've found out. Like there was an article that was written not too long ago, maybe over a month or two ago, I don't remember exactly, but basically AAA had find out that all of their marketing efforts have basically, as far as their spend, has not resulted in a net positive outcome essentially. So
Mhm.
all the ads and things like that that they've spent money on are not working for AAA. It's just like they're basically just blowing like tens of millions of dollars every time, and it just doesn't equal to what they need it to equal. There's just not the return because, in my opinion, and this is now my opinion comes in, is because the landscape of how people consume content is completely different. People watch streamers and things like that, more content creators, their favorite ones, and they won't play or necessarily play or try a game out until they see them try or play the game, and then they
Mhm.
feel comfortable that then they can participate. So it's kind of like in an old school business way of like talking about it, it's almost like a referral. Like
Yeah.
you need to see somebody else do the thing, you know what I mean? And then that person goes, "Oh, you like this? Well, yeah, I played it and I like it." And well, you trust that person. So, of course, yeah, okay, now I'll give it a shot. And so that's kind of like I feel like the way everything's gone is the power's really kind of flown, especially with gaming, has really flown into this content creator content creator slash streamer ecosystem.
Yeah.
And so yeah, I mean that's it's tough. It's I mean that's basically the direction you got to go. And now I feel like they have so much power that they just kind of like sit there with their inbox on unread with people trying to play their game. But I get it. I mean, you only have so many hours in a day.
Yeah,
You have
sure.
to kind of choose the cream of the crop, whatever's gonna because their content, they need to try and sell their content. So
Yeah.
depending on what they're going to sell on their video stream, whatever, they have to choose what thing I think they think is going to bring the most audience. And
Yeah.
that's why I think like the virality thing with like the only up stuff, or I think it was minute body, I don't remember exactly what it's called, but like those phenomenons, or even really the Fortnite phenomenon and things like that that have those super viral moments are why those have taken more of the market share as far as games and stuff like that, because those content creators are trying to sell their own content, and those viral clips are what sells their content. And so now I feel like people just feel like they need to make viral content games,
Yes.
and
Exactly.
tough. It's tough because there's not much wiggle room for artistry. Because if you just want to make something artistic, it's like, well, you also want to make sure that it is viable for you to continue to work on the project. So then what do? Then you go through a publisher. And at this rate, I'm like, well, publishers are kind of in the same position AAA is in. You know what I
Mm.
mean? They're or as far as with the marketing effort. So it's like, what are they going to do unless they have a league of content creators that they can basically just tell to play a game? I don't necessarily know the big uh selling point to publishers really at this point.
Yeah.
I don't know how you
Yeah, it's a
feel.
good point.
And that's a good question too. Real quick. Sorry, I'm
Yeah.
curious. As far as are you scouting any publishers, or is that even an option for you? Like, what is that? How does that line up with you?
Um, Currently, I'm not actively seeking a publisher. I was contacted um, by a middleman, so to say. So they would scout publishers for me and
Mm,
bargain for the deals.
sounds like a
I'm not
scam.
sure. Yeah, I think it was a scam because I asked him for references that I
Yeah.
could contact and talk about their corporation, and then he
Experience.
never answered me again.
Yeah, yeah.
But it was interesting. The call was interesting because he told me a little bit about the industry as well and what you can expect and stuff. So that's
Yeah.
always good information for free.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Um,
But yeah, I'm trying to uh I'm trying to get by without it. Um I certainly I could use the publisher's expertise in marketing the game,
mm,
but as I said, I don't even think that viral posts on X or Reddit will do the trick. At least I often hear about that it doesn't for content creators, like on podcasts
mhm,
Waiting for Players or
mm,
from Thomas Brush, the podcast. Sometimes they
mm,
also mention like they have like 20,000 followers on their channels on X and the others, but their posts don't bring wish lists. So
mhm,
I think it's I think YouTube is the game, and you need to kind of find out
mhm.
how to play it. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah. There was somebody else I just talked to earlier in the week, and she has a pretty big business, and she has a pretty relatively good sized following. They also made a game. That was like the first thing, and then she built the business after the fact of wanting to build the game. But she grew a really big following, and that big following did not translate into sales of the game once it came out. And I find it
mm,
interesting that it's like, well, and one thing she also kind of enlightened me too a little bit on, and that's actually kind of interesting, is like a lot of her audience was devs, like other devs as well.
mm,
And she was like, what was interesting was just like devs don't buy games. You would think
mm,
devs are gamers, which they are to an extent, like by nature they're gamers, but they
yeah,
don't play games, and which is so true because I dude, I can't remember the last time I played a game. The last game I played was probably my game. My game debugging it or something like that. You know what I mean? Like that was probably the last
yeah,
game that I played, and I have the most hours on most recently, just because it's like when you're a dev, I mean, you're the mountain of work that needs to be done is huge. And even when you're
yeah,
not working on the game, then you're figuring out how do you get people to find your game or get
yes,
the attention, the marketing, and all that stuff. So it's just like it's a constant just thinking about the game and how to get it done. And yeah, but I found that interesting. It's like even with these people with these relatively larger followings, it's not translating into the holy grail of wish lists that they're looking
yeah.
for. But I'm curious because there was that game schedule one, but I think the only reason it really blew up was because a couple of streamers picked it up, right? Or something
Yeah,
like that.
it is a very, very streamable game.
Yeah.
That's a good thing. It's a very, what do you call it? Viable game? Kind of, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
So
it's something I have been thinking about a lot actually is I I made this chart actually uh and I might revise it, but it's archaic. I don't even know if I can show you it. I don't It's on my computer somewhere. I'll probably send it to you. I made a Reddit post with it too, and I got downvoted into oblivion. I was like, the fuck? I mean, I mean, that's the thing that drives me crazy with Reddit. I mean, you'll post something, and it was actually, much like the post that that I posted, and people were pissed off about. But it was like kind of like I was being sincere about it, and it was something that I had thought about. But it was just like the pillars of what I believe to be like a great game, and it was like I can't draw, so it's like it was like my little doodles in this little
mm,
weird thing. But I thought it was like interesting. I was like, look, even game devs, just this is the way we think in a way. Anyway, got downvoted. I think there's I sorry, my brain's going crazy, but like in that subreddit, the indie dev Reddit, I'm pretty sure like over half, probably like 70% of the people in that subreddit are not actually devs. Like I'm pretty sure. Like it just
okay.
I just feel like they're just people hanging out, because the devs that I talk to in that Reddit, they're just in there and they do their posts and stuff like that. But the people that talk and comment and participate in the conversations most of the time, I don't think they're actually devs. I think they're just hanging out and they just want to be mad at things for some reason.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've had that experience.
I mean, I accidentally, or what I didn't know better, but I posted my game as well on, what was the subreddit called? Like PC Race or something? Like the really big one. And apparently you're not supposed to post your game there. But the only comment I got was like super negative. Like, and then it was deleted. I don't know if he told the moderators or something, but some people are just they are constantly on Reddit and they are just looking for things they can downvote, or I don't know.
I'm telling, I'm on Reddit more than I should be. But it's research and marketing. 99% of it is research and marketing. I'd say the 1% is like doom scrolling it for things that make me laugh. But most of the people that I've found that actually just like want to communicate on Reddit are usually just angry people. They just want to be mad at something. And then you get the 1% of people that actually do find something interesting and care. And that's why it's like, like I said, the post that you came from, most of the people, like, I'd say definitely most of the people that commented on that thread were negative, which was so funny. And it's funny because if you looked at the upvote to downvote ratio, it was literally like 60% downvote. So I had like 150, I don't remember how many upvotes, but I had something like 200, or I don't remember, doesn't matter, but it was 60% was downvoted, and I was like, Jesus Christ, damn, people, chill.
That's a lot.
Like,
That's really
I know, I think, and all they did was read the thumbnail, I think, and it just made people mad, and I was like, did you even read the whole post?
What was it actually? Because I read the post and I thought it was just cool. It was a cool idea, and I didn't see anything that you could even find negative.
It was the thumbnail that said AAA is dead. That infuriated people for some reason, which is so funny.
It is a strong statement, but yeah.
Yeah, it's a strong, but I mean, at the same time, I'm like, what, you think AAA is like, what's your argument? What's the alternative? Like, AAA is great.
Yeah,
AAA's done such great things.
It's wrong. I'm just saying it's strong.
Oh yeah. Well, no, I mean in the sense of like, what's the argument for the people that were upset with it? You know what I mean? Like, you're just upset that I don't remember. It doesn't matter. We don't need to go down this stupid Reddit.
Yeah.
Like this stupid
I do have
Reddit
to defend
thread.
the indie games subreddit because I got a lot of good feedback for my trailer, and I did a lot of iterations on it. Well, a couple of iterations on it with the feedback from Reddit, and it made it much better.
Oh wow. Well, see, sometimes, and I will admit, I put a couple of things on there that went really, really well. We had we have this like deer in our game that explodes, and we had this, our artist finished the animation of the deer running and then blowing up, and it's really graphic. It's kind of funny, but I posted that and it did really, really, really well. There was a couple of people that were like, I wish this would have been not safe for work. I was like, dude, it's a pixel deer. It's a pixel deer. Is that really gonna, like, that ruined your day? Oh man, I'm like on fire. I'm fiery today. I have like little patience today. I don't know why.
It's dear to the heart of developers.
What's that?
It's a big part of the developer life cycle.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, man.
getting feedback on Reddit.
Yeah. So why did we choose? Well, I know why we chose the VR, because your goal was the motion. You wanted the motion. How is that? Is this your first game you've ever built, or as you've done like smaller things beforehand? Like, give me a little backstory on why just the journey of, I guess, like a little bit of the game.
Sure. Yeah. So I am not a software developer by training necessarily. I'm actually an engineer more. But yeah, during my studies, I also got interested in software development, but my passion back then was actually more in robots.
Oh, that's
It
cool.
still is, but I just pivoted. and That's how I got a little bit of experience with software development. And I did, for self study, I did a couple of game tutorials on YouTube and stuff,
Mm,
but no real projects, I would say. So this is my first project, my first real project. And the VR aspect of it, I learned, or at least I got in contact with in a VR startup, and they were developing like an application for designers
mhm,
to look at their designs before they had to like sculpt it out to present
mhm,
to a customer. Because in VR you have a much better sense of like the sizes and shapes and stuff, what it would look like in reality,
mhm,
than only a 2D like sketch or something, right? And I thought when I worked with them, I thought VR is such a cool medium because you're so
mm,
immersed in it, and your sense of motion is also like altered and much more, yeah, sensitive. I mean, and you get lost in it. Usually on a PC, when you play a game 2D
mhm,
or 3D, but on a 2D monitor, I feel like you get lost with your mind. But in VR, you also get lost with your body, kind of, right?
mm,
So I like this. I like this aspect of it, and I always thought that rhythm games are kind of the best use case for that because it gives you a playful way to enjoy the music with motion, right?
mhm,
And because usually when you go to the higher levels or even on the lower levels of, for example, Beat Saber, like you really have the flow of the music and you just need to swing your arms, and sometimes you get really in a cool state. Um, and that this is something I wanted to also replicate,
mm,
but with the aspect of also always liked magic in video games. Like
mm.
I used to play when I was young. I used to play WoW a lot, so
Oh,
World of
yeah.
Warcraft,
Mhm,
and the scene in the classic World of Warcraft classic trailer where the
mm.
mage sits on this tower and shoots down fireballs on this fire elemental. I don't know if you know it, but
Yep, I know exactly what you're talking about. I know
this is
exactly
this
what
is
you're talking about.
this is the scene that inspired me a little bit to that I wanted to transfer into VR
Oh, that's
with
cool.
with yeah, with Rhythmic. And yeah, then I played around a little bit with it, like how to spawn like these. I wanted to draw the magic from the air. So I that's why I have these particles, because originally I wanted them to be around the player everywhere, and
Mhm,
just they would light up at certain areas where you have to go with your hands to collect them. Um, but that would be like all around you, and usually with the modern headsets, they always use like inside out tracking, so they don't have exterior sensors, right? And they cannot see behind you.
mm. Oh,
So
really? That makes
it's better when it's all in front of you.
right.
And so I pivoted to the usual rhythm game mode where you just have
Mhm,
things coming towards you. Um, and Yeah, that's a little bit the origin story of it and the vision
mhm,
I had on and still have. Um,
mhm,
and it's really fun how much you learn about the development and about also the difficulties in VR.
mhm,
Because, for example, I have this mechanism that you throw the spells like the mage in the WoW trailer. You
mhm,
throw the spells to the enemy, and throwing in VR is actually an active field of research. I wasn't aware of that because it's not as easy as you would think, and you have to tweak it a lot. Because in real life, you throw an object much more continuously than in VR. You usually open your hand very slowly, and the ball or whatever you have in hand would slowly move your hand. But in VR, you let
It's
loose
like
of the
on
trigger, and
off, right?
yeah, it's a binary trigger,
Right.
and that gives a very different feeling of throwing for the player. It's a very different experience, and there are different ways to mitigate that, and
Mm.
some ways make the player feel more natural when they throw something, and
Mhm.
some ways make them more accurate. And it's not the
Interesting.
same. So sometimes the more accurate way makes it feel less natural. So I'm thinking about, okay, what is the payoff? Like, do I want it natural, or do I want accuracy? Or maybe I give the player a little bit of aim assist and guide the projectiles a
Yeah.
little bit to make it still have the natural feeling.
Yeah.
And with the rhythm aspect as well, there's a lot of action, and sometimes it's quite fast. Of course, on the higher
Mhm.
difficulties, it gets even faster, and you don't have much time to aim, and you just throw and collect and throw. In the best case, you are in the flow, and you feel where you should throw,
Mhm.
but there's not much time for putting a lot of effort into aiming with precision and stuff. So it's very interesting. It's a very interesting engineering task.
Yeah.
So
No,
yeah.
that is really, I mean, you're right, 'cause obviously you're right, it is binary. It's one, it's on off when you try to throw something, but I mean, it's just, you can ask a pitcher, like in baseball, in American baseball, or I mean, I think it's all over, whatever. Um, but it's very much more fluid than that. It comes off your fingertips at a certain time to actually
Mm,
get that accuracy. But it's that is a very interesting problem that which is interesting about game design because you
yeah,
don't, these are problems that you don't, are unaware of until you get to them. And
yeah,
so it's like you would just, like obviously early inception of the idea, you're just like, yeah, you just throw the thing and then it works or whatever. But you're like, well, no, the physics or the actual physical action of what you're doing is much more different when translated into a game. And I think that's, it's an interesting thing with games. I mean, these are problems
yeah,
that with game developers, you don't, there's so many unforeseen problems when you
yeah,
venture out into making a game, because the inception or the idea of when you're making a game is, it seems so simple when in your head. Like you're like, oh, it's just, you know, I'll do this. Like for instance, with you, it's like I'll do my music, I'll catch the thing, and I'll throw the thing, and I'll stop the enemies. Like, okay, well, what about the timing? What about the rhythm? What about this? What about the throwing of the spells? What about the balancing of the enemies? What, I mean, there's so many moving parts
yeah,
that sometimes you don't realize how many of those problems you're going to have to actually think about solving until you get to that problem. Um, but yeah, how, so have you had, um, we don't have a demo out. Are we planning on getting a demo out of the, of it
no,
to
yeah. We were planning. Right now, I only have a playtest version. I'm planning
mm,
on putting out a demo soonish. I cannot
mhm,
say the exact date, also because it's linked to some event that I cannot talk about. But
mm.
I think by the time this video comes out, might already be out. Um, yep, we're planning for that.
We are planning for a demo. Okay, cool. And as your playtest, is it live all the time, or obviously it's like you can only do it in Windows, right?
Uh, I think it's live all the time, but I have to invite player, of course.
Oh, interesting. Okay, that's interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. We do our play tests like in blocks of time, but it makes sense. Ours is multiplayer, so we're trying to
Yeah.
concentrate the amount of players into a certain. Obviously, you don't want it. For us, it's like if you just have people going in and nobody's there, then
Mm.
the play test is pointless. So we try and
Yeah.
concentrate all of our people in
Yeah.
at 2 hours, so that way we can maximize the amount of players in a certain period of time to get whatever we need out of it.
Yeah.
Have, do you have like a feedback option, like after you play the game, a feedback form comes up or things like that, or how has been the feedback from the people that have played the game?
Um, yeah, I'm actually mostly I have also played it with friends. I have had some. I have set up the playtest on Steam. So you can, if I give you a Steam key, you can download it, can play it. But yeah, not so many players have done that yet, but I have some feedback. And usually players say something about the throwing. So it's not perfect yet. I'm right now improving that and researching a lot of it about it. And yeah, but usually they say it's fun, but it's sometimes a little bit off. And I think it needs to be really good for a new player that doesn't know anything about the game, that I didn't ask to please play the game, uh, to understand it and to feel good about it. So it must be really, really smooth and really easy in the beginning, but hard to master. That's my vision.
Classic.
Yeah,
Easy to pick up, hard to master. I feel like that
yeah,
is like that's the holy grail of game design.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly. By the way, because you just mentioned your playtest, I was just thinking. I wanted to ask you earlier. Do you use any AI for your game?
No, actually we don't.
That's interesting.
So we are fortunate enough to have we're a team of 5 and ad hoc one of our music person. He ad hocs in every so often. Now that's not to say we do not use AI at all. I use AI all the time when I'm trying to come up with ideas or things like that
Yeah, of course.
for the game, etc. Like, coming up with weapon names or things like that, or weapon descriptions potentially, and things like that. But as far as like all the assets in game and things like that, music, all the way from music, code, and everything. Actually, I take that back. I wrote one script that I used code for because I couldn't get. I'm not a coder, but I did all the UI in the game, and there was the text in Unity. Uh, uh, the outline the script for the outline in Unity was terrible for the text. It was so bad. It
Mhm.
all it did was duplicate it and then churn it black and then it just multiplied it and then spread it out. But you can only
Mhm.
spread it out so far before you get multiple images of your text just behind the main text. It was terrible. It was so bad. I was like, this is, and not, it was fuzzy. It was not good. So, for me, the UI, I was like, this is not working. And I use ChatGPT and I'm like, I need a very specific, very specific
Yeah,
new script to fix the text. And now I have a really nice outline on all of my text. So yes, I
that's
did,
great.
I guess, use it on tech. I used it on a script, and we use it for just coming up with weapon ideas and things like that sometimes, or we use it more of like a collaborative experience, not necessarily like input and then take out and then put in the game. But back to what I was saying, we're very fortunate. We have 5 and sort of plus one other member where we basically can cover all of the things
Mhm.
that we need for the game. We have a
That's
primary
very nice.
coder, or a primary developer. We have a primary game designer. We have a primary person doing menus and UI and stuff like that. We have a primary person that's drawing all. We have an artist who does all the assets essentially for the game, all the
Yeah.
sprites, all the art, everything in the game. And then we have some of that ad hoc person we have actually who made all the music for the game as well. And so yeah, we kind of got lucky with it, I guess. But I'm like I said, I'm not opposed to AI in the game. Like
Yeah.
if there was an option, uh, we just don't need it right now. But if it comes up, we might use it for certain things.
Yeah.
It just might come up to where we might need it for certain things that we need to that might make us more a little bit more efficient or whatever. But it's just like everything we need everything we have or need for our game, we basically have covered. But
Yeah,
I
and
know most teams don't have that. They don't have every single avenue covered for their
yeah.
game.
And you probably also have, like, advantages in having the team. I mean, a team is also good, and I if I would start over again, I would probably team up with an artist. I would love to have an artist on my team because, uh, um I have so many ideas where I just think, okay, could you make an animation for this, or could you make like a particle system here, or some transition of this to that, or
Yeah.
music, like somebody who's really good with music and can just create new
Yeah.
songs. even with AI would be great. And yeah, just to get some instant feedback stuff back and
Yeah.
forth, because you cannot always ask your friends, please uh, test this, or what is your opinion. They will either don't have time or the motivation to give you like the best feedback they can. I mean, I don't
Hmm.
blame them. It's not their
Yeah.
thing. So
Well, and
yeah,
usually the
Steam
feedback you get
definitely
from
has
friends,
benefits.
yeah, usually the feedback you get from friends is terrible. It's so
Yeah.
bad. It's literally, well, that was one of the big issues we had, which was like we'd have friends play and we'd be like, okay, so what did you think about it? Da, da, da. Like, how is it? Yeah, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. First of all, they're not going to write anything down. They're just going to tell
Mm.
you. And they'll try, it's because they're your friend. They're just like, oh, that blah, 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 blah. And what they usually say is like, oh, it was good. It's
Mm.
fun.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, it's okay. I mean, this is a little weird, but it's fun. You're like, anything else? Like, can we go into detail about this? Like, can you kind of give me a little bit more specifics on what feels? I was like, oh, well, it's fun. I mean, it's cool. It's like, so that was our biggest issues. We had like 8 or 9 friends play it on. We did a play test before December. We did a play test with just our friends. Oh, no, that's not right. We did the play test with just our friends basically in December because nobody else actually showed up. But that was the issue we ran into, was just like all of our friends just pretty much gave us yeah, it's good. And they were just trying to have fun. And we're
Yeah.
like, so like a lot of the time, like a friend, unless you have a friend who's also a developer, um, they don't understand what a playtest is. You're making a
Yeah.
game. There's like, oh, this is your game. Okay, cool. It's like, no, 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 no. This is either a
I
prototype
recent
or I'm trying to find out what's going on with it.
Yeah. I recently saw a very interesting video about how Valve did playtests, or what value they place on
Mm,
playtests, because when they developed Portal, like the video was about when they developed Portal,
mm,
and they, with the previous games, they made some bad experiences, and then they said, okay, playtest is really the absolute key, and they
mm-hmm,
will playtest from week 1 or after week 1, and they
mm,
will playtest every week with playtesters. I don't know if they always use the same, or every time new ones, or if they pay them, I don't know, but they will playtest on Friday and get the feedback and stuff and prepare everything. And on Monday, they will make new tasks from that. And during the week, they will develop new things. And on Friday,
mm-hmm.
they will playtest again. And it should run through all the development cycle. And when I hear that, I think, yeah, that makes absolute sense. And that would be great. And I started
Mm-hmm.
like 1.5 years into development with testing.
Dude, same though. Same. But I mean, obviously they're Valve.
Yeah.
Like Valve can put one post and say we need playtesters, and they would have the cream of the crop pickings. They could choose
Yeah.
how many playtesters they want. So especially within Portal, I mean, at Portal at that time they're very established. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're Valve. Half-Life 2 has already come out, uh, and so it's just like they're a behemoth. So it's like, yeah, putting it out there, and that's great advice, and I love that, doing testing earlier, but it's just not the reality for
Yeah.
indie devs. It's
Yeah.
just
True.
getting somebody to play. Look, I'm counting my lucky stars that this show I've been able to do what I have done with this show because we just had that play test. Was that a few weeks ago or something like that? And we actually had play testers or people play the game and give us feedback, like real legitimate feedback on the game. And I mean, it opened our eyes wide open. We're like, oh, okay, now we can see. I mean, it's still in our Discord. You can see I posted it because I thought it was important to be like, well, I'm not. I don't think anything should really be hidden or a secret. I'm very open in general. So it's like, whatever, we'll just talk about it and people can see it. And I think it's also cool, the journey as well. So if anybody ever goes back and my game becomes a major success, or I fail and I find myself somewhere else, they can look back at the journey a little bit. But we got real feedback.
Yeah.
But it was because of this work that I've been doing on building the show, and going after game developers and having game developers kind of test the game. Game developers look at it with a different eye or a different lens than like a gamer. A gamer might just pick it up and like, I don't know what it is, I don't like it, and then just walk away. It's like, well,
Yeah.
hold on. I mean, this is a playtest. This is a beta version. This isn't even beta. This is barely alpha. You know what I mean? There's barely alpha version of the game. You know, lots and lots of work needs to be done. But anyways, where I was going with that is just like it's just not the reality for most indie devs to be
Yeah.
able to test early and often like Valve did. And it's, I mean, I've posted so many times about trying to get people to play test in Reddits and like zero upvotes, zero comments, like nothing, just
Mm.
absolutely nothing. No one's interested. No one wants to do the work, and it's definitely not easy. I think trying to do that outside of marketing, well, in a way, getting a play test is a form of marketing, in a way. You know what I mean? And if we're struggling with marketing, and we're probably going to struggle with getting the play test.
I think I think that would be a really good idea, and I think there are also, of course, businesses that develop this, but an AI that can just play the game and give like human-like feedback, that would
Wow,
be amazing.
that's a good idea.
It
I
would
if
need to,
AI yeah, if AI can
yeah,
figure the thing about it though is like here's the thing that's interesting though. I mean, you'd have to basically create like a bunch of different personas because not every person finds something different because of
yeah,
their own
that's true.
experience and who they are as a person. They find something different and interesting and a different perspective of feedback where I mean, the feedback we got, obviously there's similarities. You can break down, oh, we got this many things said about this specific thing this
Mm,
many times. Obviously that will come up. But then you get really like nuanced things that you didn't even think about that spark something. You're like, oh my God, we didn't even think about that. That's a good idea. Or shoot, why have we not polished this part? And it's to try and get like an AI to be, I guess, that diverse. You'd almost, like I said, have to make like a bunch of different personas on basically it's almost like making a D&D character. You're like you basically have to like make a like 20 or 30 different D&D characters that are like these play
yeah,
testers and they have their own backstory so that way they can try and almost find things in their own unique way.
that's a very good point because I wasn't even thinking about that, but I think, I mean, you can't give a system prompt or something like, "You are an expert developer,"
Yeah.
something, and, I mean, this should be possible, right? Or shouldn't it? I mean, if a game can be played, so how many buttons do you need to play your game?
If you consider the movement, I mean up, down, left, right, there's four. The two abilities, 1, 2, plus the pickup ability, 3. And then we just added a new mechanic where you have to pick up items. So that's
Mm,
so 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I guess really only 8 buttons on
yeah.
our game.
I mean,
It's
that
not
is
very much at all. Not very
it
much at all.
yeah, it reads the screen, has 8 inputs, and, has some output. I don't know how score works in your game, but yeah,
It's
I
like a
mean
last man standing. Whoever last, it's like it's like a 4 player free
mm,
for all, and whoever's alive the last one wins. Speaking of
yeah,
which, real quick, I was just talking about how we have an artist or whatever. He hangs out in our Discord and he draws. So if you're ever interested, he'll be live sometimes in there,
okay.
just drawing parts of the game. He'll be making like visuals and stuff like that. He just hangs out in
Cool.
there. Sorry, that was a huge digression. I just saw he sent out a message. Because he's updating a bunch of stuff right now,
I see.
but he hangs out in our Reddit and he'll go live and you can see him actually drawing stuff. It's kind of cool.
Mm, nice. Yeah. As I said, I was considering taking someone on, but I wouldn't even know. I mean, I already developed so much. I wouldn't even know, yeah, how to do the share and stuff. And I don't, yeah, I have to consider it more. But everything is so fun about the game development, or interesting at least. I mean, it's frustrating at times, but it's
Mhm.
interesting to solve all these different things. But and I'm very bad at delegating. But yeah, it would be nice to have someone just say, "Here, do this."
It's really the thing I like about the having a team. There's things I'm going to tell you right now. There's things that I want to that are not fun about having a team. However, there are a lot of really fun things about having a team, which is like collaborative, like coming up with ideas, working through like problems sometimes, and like just coming up with things that are fun and unique, and everyone have their own perspective on it. That's fun. Like that's a
Yeah.
lot of fun. Like just being able to like just spitball and think of the future and kind of think of where we can take things or whatever. That makes it really fun because if it's just you, there's not a. I mean, there's just you. So it's like you're trying to make things yourself, and you're doing the best of your ability to what you think is really cool, but not all the time that not all a lot of the time not everything that you think is cool is actually cool.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And so it's good
Experienced
to
that a
bounce that
lot in
off
my
somebody first. What's that?
I just said I experienced that a lot in my life.
Oh man. But on the other side, like I said, there's things with having a team that can be very frustrating when you hit roadblocks or disagreements and things like that, or
Mm,
direction of the game, or just stuff like that. You know how to approach feedback. I mean, the more people you add, the more red tape the more not red tape isn't the right word, just the more opinions you have.
yeah.
But each side has their balance. You know what I mean? Each side for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, cool.
Yeah. So we're hopefully going to be having a demo out here soon, and probably the next few months, right?
Yeah.
Um, and then after demo, do you have a potential release date that you're eyeballing? Like, but depending on how things go, you may push or it's more flexible. It says release 2025, but is that
Mhm.
more of like an open-ended 2025?
So,
Is that like December 31st, 2025? Just so you have enough time to basically go, oh, we got to push it back.
yeah, well, it's tentative, but uh, I do want to participate in the next fest this
Hmm.
year. Like, I think you also participate, right? In October?
We'll be in the October one, God
Yeah.
willing. God willing.
I
If one of
was
these
aiming for
if
that.
one of these disagreements go in a way that I prefer it not to go, we'll see what happens.
Okay.
Back to what I was just saying, when you have a disagreement, which we're in one right now, God willing, we make it to the October the October next fest.
Yeah. And I think at least that's what Chris says. You're kind of supposed to release 1 or 2 months or maybe 3 months after the next fest, right? If it
Mm,
goes well, I guess. So yeah, so I just said, yeah, 2025. And
got it.
end of year, maybe latest.
December 31st,
Yeah,
2025.
that's a spike in the release of indie games on Steam.
That's funny. Oh man. Um,
Uh,
yeah, I
but
think
there's
that's good. Sorry, go
what
ahead.
what I love about the concept of a VR rhythm game. Actually, many games can have that, I guess. But like a game where you have separated single scenarios, as I call them in Rhythmic. Um, every scenario is like separate, basically, but you can add so much content in like updates and DLCs. I mean,
Oh, of course.
obviously new songs from hopefully new artists and stuff, but also new game modes, new
Hmm.
maps. I have different maps that I can play on, and they are very
Yep.
important. I mean, they have different paths, of course, for the enemies to walk on. Some will be okay. I shouldn't promise too much, but some will be interactive. Some maps, but this also can be introduced in later updates after release, I think. And what I would like to have your opinion on is how do you? I recently talked to someone about early access, and how do
Mm,
you think about it? Because some people say it killed indie development because a lot of people are abusing it, and
mm.
some people say it's a good thing. So what do you think?
Well, we are early accessing our game.
Okay.
But there's a caveat there. Our game is going to be a free and it's going to be live service. So
Mm,
we're not selling you the game up front, you know what I mean? So we're doing, and it's a multiplayer live
okay.
service type of ordeal. So it's like I feel like that kind of can lend itself to being okay with early access. like
That's a
being
lot of
able
sense.
to, I mean, what's it called? Fortnite was in early access or whatever you want to call it for like a year or two after Fortnite had been out. You know what I mean? And I think they didn't release, like, they didn't say Fortnite was released until like season 7 or 5 or something like that. I'm like, the game's out. The game has been out. So, but like I said, I feel like live service can kind of get away with it. In general, do you know the Deep Rock series?
No.
The Deep Rock Galactic guys, the whoever made those games, apparently they only ever do early access. They sell a full slot, like you can just buy their game. Like the most recent one, they did like a Survivor, Deep Rock Survivor type of game, and I think it's still in early access. But it's a single player purchasable game. But they have a way they do it, like method or the way that they do their game, or their releases is like positioned to make sure that it is early access or something like that. I forget, there was an article or they did a video, I'm not exactly sure, something like that. But they talked about why they do it in their methodology with early access. And they've been very successful. Obviously, their games are good, but they do early access. To answer your question, I have no idea. I think you can go either way. I don't think it's hurting anybody. I don't think it's hurting the industry in any form or shape. I think one thing I do think though is when you do launch into early access, um, I do believe that is more or less like launching your game. Like because when the
Mm,
second you can put something out there where people can spend money or play or something like that, where it's more or less open to the public, you might as well say your game's released.
yeah.
Um, and that's why I think it depends on in like I know with Deep Rock, they do a really good job at showing you their roadmap and they stay relatively true to that roadmap. So you go into early access, but it's like, oh, I know by this date I'm gonna have this and this and this. By this date, I'll have this and this. So they're
Mm,
very open about the direction and path that they're going with the game when you come into early access. And I think with multiplayer games and live service, I think they kind of get a little bit of a pass when it comes to early access. I feel like that's a little bit more of an expected thing. Not I wouldn't say expected. That's not right. Um uh um Digestible thing. Like if you see an early access multiplayer game, um that kind of makes sense. You're like, oh, okay, I'll play this for a while, and I expect updates, especially live service. You expect constant updates and new versions and forms and things
yeah.
like that of the game. But I don't know. I don't know if that answered your question.
Yeah, no, it's good, but I don't know why you then chose to call it early access. I mean, it sounds like you're saying it's kind of the release anyways. So is it like to say, okay, it's not doesn't have all the features we want to provide in the end, or
Mm.
why you call it early access?
I think the way I look at early access is like this is the best we can get the game to right now without basically this is the version, the best we can make the version of the game without being making the game staying in development for the next like 3 or 4 years. So
Mm,
here's the first version of a playable game that you can spend money on while we continue to add more content. That's the
yeah,
way I look at it. So it's early access to play the first versions of the game, but that first version of the game is like the most polished version of the first version. If that makes any sense. So that
yeah,
first version that people get to actually
yeah,
participate in needs to be like spot on. Basically, it is the game, but there's a lot more content coming. And then when I would consider release is when you've basically built in or put all the features and things that you wanted to put into the game um are now finally in the game and
yeah,
it's polished into a position that you actually like. And then you'd be like, the game's now done. This is if and I feel like indie I can get away with it because it's like, look, this is our game, the best version that we can make it, early access. You can spend money in the game and you'll keep it. You'll keep whatever visual asset that you spend money, and you're helping us support to continue to build out the rest of the roadmap. All of the new things and things that we have planned, you're basically supporting us to get to the end.
yeah,
Because if we try to build all those things that we really want in the game, like I said, it'd be 4 or 5 years down the road, but also giving it to the community early also lets us be able to iterate based off of what the community feedback is as well.
Yeah.
So, like I said, for us, it's kind of like I just like with multiplayer, I feel like you can kind of get away with early access a little bit. You can kind of like play the game a little bit better, like the game of making games in early access or release or whatever. Because if we just release it, then I feel like people would just expect that's all they're gonna get. If we just say the game's live, then people, even if we put a roadmap out or whatever like that, I feel like early access has the expectation that there's more content coming.
Yeah. Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
I think
Oh.
maybe early access 2025. I don't know.
There you go. There you go. Early access 2025. Yeah, I mean, to be fair, your game looks like in pretty good shape from everything that I've seen in your game. It looks like it's in really good shape. Like I'll probably join your Discord. I don't even know. I'd have to dig out my VR. I have the original Vive. So does it
The
work on
original.
that? The first one that came out, the HTC Vive, the very first one.
It
That's
would
the
be
only
an
VR
interesting test.
thing I have. What's that?
It would be an interesting test
So
whether it
maybe I
works.
will. Maybe I'll download it and try and let you know. I'm like, well, it doesn't work on the first one.
Thanks.
I think
Thanks
it
for
all
the feedback.
doesn't. I mean, it streams from your computer to the headset. So I mean,
If you're using PCVR, yeah.
yeah, and I would be. I wouldn't be. Oh no, I take that back. No, we have a Quest 2. Just kidding. I forgot we have that.
Also,
It was a gift of we were given it, so I completely forgot about it, and I never. Honestly, it's put
and you
away
seem
somewhere,
to
so I
love
never.
it.
Yeah, and we absolutely love it. No, my it's actually my 6-year-old. There's a few games on there that she really likes. And it was given to her by her grandparents. So and
It's
she
so
likes it.
interesting
So
that so children so young can already like navigate this virtual environment. And I saw like there is a YouTube channel with also a small girl. Like she can also maximum be 7 or something, and she plays Beat Saber on like medium to difficulty,
damn,
difficulty or something. And
damn,
that's really fun to see.
that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh man. Well, let's see. I mean, I think we more or less covered everything.
All right.
Unless there was anything specific you wanted to talk about, I feel like we kind of more or less talked about anything. Was there anything specific you wanted to talk about?
Yeah, we didn't get into like AI topics outside of game dev. So I just I wondered like what do you think about like the um direction AI is going in general, because
Mhm.
a lot of people, I mean, many people or some people say um game dev is even futile because in some years games are just prompted. I don't know
Yeah.
if something like Rhythmic could be prompted, honestly, but of course, if I can make it, why couldn't the AI?
Yeah.
um, but
I think
yeah, do you have
anything's
any
possible.
potential
Anything's
points?
possible. As far as AI into like the wild and the direction of it, I mean, you can think yourself into like a dystopia real quick. All of us are just sitting here with a VR. I mean, you can think yourself into like basically like with the Wall-E movie. You're just
Yeah,
sitting in a chair with your VR glasses all day long, or Ready Player one type of scenario. I don't think it's gonna get. I think that singularity event is much further than I think we think. I mean, I have no proof to back that up, but mainly just my opinion. Um, and I think that there's still a lot. I think we're several generations off from that event. Once I would say, um, what we're in alpha generation, so beta generations coming up right now. Probably the next generations, the two after these generations, AI will become so much more integral, and it really will start to look like a completely different society. Because how we were, I mean, we're probably, I don't know how old you are, but I'm more like a middle aged millennial. I don't know. whatever.
Mm,
I'm 38. I remember life before technology, and I remember life very much integrated with technology. Like we're
yeah,
millennials, like we have been through all of it more or less. Where we saw all of this technology start to take over, and we adopted it very quickly. But we still remember what it was like without it, and
still
that's a
know the
big
wooden modems.
yes, yeah. The wooden modems. That's funny. But we still, I think, once our generation kind of disappears, like dies off, and maybe even the Gen Z generation, maybe a little bit of the Alpha. I think that's when I think AI will really start to take over, and prompting a game into existence will become more of a natural thing. And I think where it's gonna go eventually is how like there was all this promise of like not really promise, but just the thought of like when 3D printers first came out. I remember very vividly everyone's like, you can make whatever you want. Everyone's gonna have one of these in their house, and you're just gonna build something, and you're just gonna be able to build whatever you want at all whenever you want it. Obviously, that's not the case. There's still not the technology kind of plateaued as far as 3D printers. It just is still super slow. It's not what they thought it was going to be as far as the amount of accessibility and things like that.
They
And I
also
think that's
said
kind
that
of where
about VR, by the way.
what's that?
They also said that about VR.
Oh, like it was going to be like it's going to be everywhere. It's going to be everything.
Yeah,
Yeah. So I think there's a lot of hype behind AI right now, and rightfully so. It's very the leap from where we are to where AI is very large as far as what it's offering to us. Um, but I think where was I going with that? Oh man, I lost my train of thought. I was talking about with 3D printers. I think we're gonna hit a plateau, and and I think it's just gonna get to a point where because all we can go from here is just the models will get better and better and better and better, but the next jump from models being really good at creating video or creating uh images and things like that are going to get really really good prompts, etc. But the next jump is like essentially singularity. It's basically like autonomous robots, like literally thinking, not breathing but thinking robots. And that jump I think is much further away than we are
yeah.
at the moment. I just I think that's going to be a really big problem, a much bigger problem than I think people think it is. I don't know where I was going with that.
I think
Anyway,
you're right with robots. I
what's
just
that?
I think you're right with robots. They are still they need because they are physical. They cannot be like duplicated as quickly. So
Mm,
they need like production facility, right? And
hmm.
that will take probably a little bit more time.
Yeah.
But I I often hear like the news and the increasing capabilities of these models, and of course the AI company CEOs, they are always hyping it up. But
Yeah.
uh, I saw an interview with like what was it, like some billionaire. He was talking about how he met with his billionaire club, and there
Mm,
were also like people from tech, and there were people from other industries and stuff, and they had like it was I don't know if it was completely centered around AI, but AI was a big topic, and they had these workshops, and they would ask a question, like a moderator would ask the question, um, do you agree or disagree with this statement? Like AI poses a 10% or chance or risk um, for wiping out 50% of humanity by 2050.
mm,
And and everyone would go on the no side.
mhm,
Only 4 people, and all of these 4 people were the tech people that know this stuff, right? And he
mhm,
was he was telling this so interestingly. And
mm,
yeah, I mean it's all doomerism
yeah.
and hype and stuff, but I do think the pace of improvement and the pace of development is so crazy right now.
Yeah.
and the investments, like these hundreds of billions of dollars into this. I mean, they wouldn't do that if it they did this with the dot-com bubble maybe and stuff, but it's getting really crazy right now.
Yeah.
But
We definitely
what
haven't hit the plateau yet. That's for
yeah, yeah.
sure. There's still a lot of growth in what is being made. I mean, there was that somebody I forget who, but they just made a full-on AI commercial. And
Mm,
obviously they used whatever it was, but it's all like fake people, it's not real
yeah,
people,
yeah,
but it looks real. Like you're looking at it and you're like, how is that? And that's
yeah,
scary because you're like, the thing that scares me, I think the most, uh, is who's controlling it, who's using it.
yes.
And there's obviously like people with very nefarious purposes on why they would do that. And my problem with AI right now is I'm already skeptical with everything. So like anytime I see AI, anything that seems a little fuzzy or fishy, you know what I mean? I'm kind of like, okay, that's probably AI. But I'm also, like I said, I'm a millennial, so it's like I can kind of differentiate, and obviously just the information war zone that we've been in for the last like decade. It's much easier to kind of like, okay, is this true? You kind of do a little bit more due diligence to see if something's actually real or not. But the older generation doesn't do that. They see something and they think it's real.
Yeah.
And that's what scares me the most is the older generations not doing any due diligence. They just
But
see it and they just accept it. They just believe it. That's right. Man, the amount of, I'm not going to call out any names, but I'm just going to say there are people in my life that have sent me things and I'm like, that's not real. That is not real. And then I show them and they go, oh, I thought that. I was like,
I thought
like
that
that
was real.
scares the crap out of me. I'm like, you just got baited. I'm like, it's not real. Do some due diligence behind this. I was like, this is not the way it is.
But I think I always think when I hear this, I always think like, what will be the technology or the state of AI or whatever, where I'm like the boomer that doesn't think
Uh,
that it's
yeah,
fake
yeah.
anymore. And I have one fact that gives me hope for
Uh-huh.
humanity, because I heard Sam Altman recently got a kid.
Mhm.
So I think,
Oh, did he really? Oh, thank God.
yeah.
Hopefully that
So
gives him some humility. I have too. So I'm like, yeah, your perspective, your overture window widens very much once you have children. But anyway, go
yeah.
ahead. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you.
No, 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 that's what I also wanted to say. Maybe he wants to preserve Earth a little bit more now,
I didn't know
or
he had a kid.
humanity.
That's thank God. Or it might make him more of a robot. Who knows? Who knows, man? You hope. You really do hope. It's like I said, it depends on who's controlling the AI, and obviously we're
Yeah.
in a massive. Where what country are you in again? I'm sorry.
Germany.
You're in Germany. Okay. So like I know with like the US we're making a huge push, but like China is so much further ahead than most people actually believe they are, especially with the power. I mean, they're light years ahead when it comes to the amount of power that they're producing, which is what all technology needs, which is power. All these countries like to make AI, you need power. Lots and lots of power, which is ironic
Yes.
because so does crypto and people have been trying to push crypto for a really long time. And they're like, it takes up too much power. And then all of a sudden AI shows up and like, all right, screw it. Everyone burn everything to the ground. We just need to make power. And it's like, dude, what the fuck? Like, that was one of, I think, the most funny realizations to me because I'm kind of a crypto nerd too. I got into crypto like right when Bitcoin kind of popped off the very first time.
Very good.
But yeah, and it was interesting to me because like obviously it was so much power to, solve the algorithm, solve the problems on the mining side of it. And there was so much like it's the worst thing for the planet, it's the worst thing for the planet. And then AI shows up and they're like, this is the greatest thing that has ever happened. And I'm like, yo, dude, it takes just as much power, if not more, for AI than it did for crypto.
Yeah.
Uh that's just a realization that I thought was very, first of all, very hypocrisy. Like it was huge hypocrisy, but also like funny. But anyway,
Yeah. The only one who always loves is Jensen Huang, because
just
everybody needs the GPUs.
yes, yeah, yeah, exactly. And that's funny, man. His man, that was one of those things too that I knew I should have done. I should have bought Nvidia when we the U.S. signed some bill or whatever that gave him billions of dollars to make tons of new GPUs and stuff like that. Anyway, the Chips
Yeah.
Act or whatever would give him a ton of money, and I was like, shit, I should buy Nvidia, but then I just didn't. And then it's like seriously 10x since I had that thought. I was like, son of a bitch, what the hell's wrong with me? I knew it would do it. I've been in IT my whole life, and I've been following Nvidia since like like as young as I can remember, which was like GeForce 2, which was
Mm,
like that was the or the GPU that you would use when you would want to play like Half-Life. You had a GeForce 2 or something like that. And I remember those days, man. I remember when the GeForce 4 came out, everyone like lost their freaking mind. It's like, this is the best freaking graphics card ever. And I was
yeah.
like, that's when Radeon was still actually kind of an okay thing. And then anyway, I need to go down old tech, old technology rabbit holes. But yeah, that's how old I am. Man.
Well, I'm not much younger. I'm actually I'm 35, so we're basically
Oh,
in
we're
the same
so yeah,
bucket.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
We are in the same bucket. Yeah. So you used to build robots though, right? Or
Well, I used to learn a little bit about them. I was very
okay.
interested in them, but it was cool because in university, when I went to university, I joined our university team for competing at the Robo Cup, and
Okay.
it was a very cool experience because it was a team of like engineering students who would like build and program robots
Mhm.
to yeah, do basically pick and place tasks, but
Mhm.
it had to do its planning, its navigation, its vision, its uh end effector movements and stuff, all
Yeah.
autonomously. So that was really cool, and we flew like to other countries like Japan and the Iran
Mm.
to compete in these competitions. It was very
Oh
cool.
wow.
And um yeah, by the way, the Robo Cup was founded with the vision that 2050 uh the robots would play against the human FIFA team on FIFA rules football. Like they have these
25
football
years.
competitions, right? These football robots,
Yeah.
and that was the vision for them, and I think it is achievable
Eh,
by if the rate of progress keeps up. I mean, we will have robots that are so great. I mean, they are already boxing, right?
yeah. Well, that's what's interesting. That's the interesting thing about AI I find is that it's like, obviously it's a digital robot that can think and work forever. As long as you put power into it, it can solve whatever amount of problems you need it to solve
Yeah,
for an extended period of time. And so obviously the exponential growth or progress starts to get better because it makes our activity more productive. So it's like when you're trying to solve a lot more of these, you know, really big problems on like how do you get an autonomous being functionally on a field to kick a ball around and play soccer, you know what I mean?
mm,
Well,
yeah,
a human can only do that probably a maximum 8 hours a day, and then they gotta do other things and then eat, and
yeah,
so that where a robot, you can have a subset of that problem being worked on for however long it needs to be solved or however long it needs to do, and then it can give you its, thesis or answer, and you can have multiple models trying to solve the same problem at the exact same time and compare them once
yeah,
the problem's been solved. So it's just like that's one of the things that I think is really promising, which is just like this ability to what's the
simulate
word, I guess.
basically.
Yeah, and you have to make simulations and things like that. But I actually that's a good question I have. What do you think is really like one of the biggest problems that we're trying to get through to go from people or from like what robots are now to actually something being able to run, balance, jump, leap, move around, have good motor skills on from like where we are now to there. What do you think are some of the like the greatest challenges that are holding us back on that?
I think by the way, I think we should get back on our on our game testing AI company again, because I think when robots are so good that they will do most of the tasks, they will also produce most of the goods, and nobody will have work again, and that's
True.
fine. People will still have food, I think,
Yeah.
but everybody will make games. So we need
Yes.
a playtesting AI.
Yeah. There
No,
was
but
that. Oh my God. Just real quick. This makes me think.
yeah,
Do you hear about that AI company that just got busted
yes,
for that? Yeah, yeah, that wasn't an AI company. It was like 400, like 400, like 400. I don't remember. It was a ton of people basically just running these chat systems. It
yeah.
wasn't AI. It was just a bunch of people running chat systems. Anyway, I just thought that was
They
funny.
would write code. Like it was like I think 700 Indian employees that would come a request and they would code up the application for whoever sent this request.
Oh
I don't
my
know how this is
God.
possible.
Dude,
And
at
they
that
also
rate, I'm like, dude, you might as well just built like a model. At that rate, that seems like a logistical nightmare to
yeah,
manage. Not only obviously they got big time busted, but anyway.
no. But back to your question, what is the biggest challenge to overcome? I think a lot of people put emphasis now. For example, Fei Fei Li. I don't know if you know her. She's a very famous AI scientist, and she created this first really large image data set,
Mm,
ImageNet, and that was used to train these AIs to distinguish cats from dogs and stuff. But
okay.
she now wants to use like vision capabilities to enable robots to think in space, like have a spatial understanding. And I think that's really important because robots really need, like humans, like need a world model. They need to know, okay,
Right.
my microphone is here, and even if I turn this way, it will still be there. And
Right.
if I bump this way, I will bump into it. And they need to understand, okay, there's a cup on the table, and if I push the cup will fall. And they need to understand physics and spatial dimensions. And then I
Yeah.
think we can deploy robots everywhere and they will figure
Right.
out stuff because they will learn it. I also saw another interesting video of I think, was it a German company? Maybe I'm making this up, but
Mm,
um, some robot company, they said, we did it, we probably did it all wrong because we put robots always in one specific environment with one specific task, like
mm,
put that cup from there to there or whatever.
yeah.
But actually, that's not how humans learn. Humans get overwhelmed with all kinds of different information when they're babies, and they um, through this vast um, different like data space, they learn to distinguish, okay, this belongs there and this belongs there. And
Oh,
actually,
interesting.
and they get better at certain tasks as well because they generalize so well. And this is
Mm,
also like research done right now, like for language models, I think. So are there better specialists if they only specialize in one thing, or should they also have like a general understanding of everything else? And the second case sometimes leads to better results in the specialized tasks as well, because
mhm.
they can probably transfer some skills from other things. I might also misrepresent it, but that's how I understood it. So now they want to train robots in real life scenarios with all kinds of different environments, so they get a little bit robust
Mhm.
in their understanding. But the
Yeah.
spatial dimension, I think, is very important, and that's a huge push right now.
Interesting.
Also,
Sorry. Sorry, go ahead.
one other thing came to my mind. Do you know Pokemon Go?
Yes. Well, yeah.
Because they also um, have this vast data set of just images and video of spaces, right? And
Oh,
they
right.
use that to train a spatial AI with spatial understanding, because everyone was filming their environment, right, 24/7,
Oh
because
my
they were
god,
looking
you're
for the
totally right.
Pokemon. And they can use this data now to train their AI to develop some spatial understanding. I think that's so
Mm.
fun. They put
Yeah.
out a game, and now they can probably sell the AI model
Oh
coming out
yeah.
of that for much more money.
Well, data is so. I mean, the data is king.
Yeah,
If you
yeah,
have the data, you're king. I mean, you can sell your data. You can use the data. You can do whatever you want. It's just, and obviously that's one of the things that's interesting. Like as far as data goes, with like Tesla, how they have cameras all over their cars or whatever, and that's how they've been
yeah,
able to just train or build their full self driving is because of these cars just being out in the wild and recording everything and being able to then tell what's what, and that's why like no one's come close to what Tesla's come as far as with the full self driving. There's
yeah.
no one even close to them because of the amount of data that they've been able to collect over the years to be able to train their cars to be able to be full self driving. That's going to be something that's really interesting. Do you think in all in all, like because AI and robots, they kind of like eventually they're gonna have to, they're gonna become symbiotic at some point. I mean, they're
Yeah,
gonna become one and the same. Like a robot is only as good as by just saying, okay, do XYZ tasks. And then
yeah.
the AI is the thing that needs to be able to think. So it's once those things become together, then basically, do you think this will be a good thing? Do you think this will be a bad thing? Do you think we'll turn into Terminator or basically Skynet will then all of a sudden unleash the robots onto us?
I think uh, it comes down to what you said earlier, like who controls it. Like
Yeah.
I think the biggest threat comes from people still.
Yeah.
Of course, some people also think that AI will get so powerful that they will develop their own goals. And
Mm.
if those goals are not aligned with our goals, which is hard in itself because human goals are very diverse. And
100%. 100%.
so, yeah, I don't know how do you even define that, but yeah, I mean, I think robots are super cool, and I want them to have like really good understanding of everything so they can interact with us. But of course, the problem is if robots do all the work and human labor basically becomes um, economically worthless. Like I don't want
Mm,
to say it's worthless because people have value and dignity
mhm.
and stuff, but economically,
But it's
like the robot will
marketably
always be
yeah.
more economically viable than you or me or anyone. Uh,
Mhm.
if that becomes reality, then whoever owns these robots owns everything because they
Yeah.
produce everything and they
Mhm.
produce um yeah they just have everything. So if they don't share, everybody else is fucked.
Yeah. No, that's a
And
really good point.
yeah,
It's a really
it's
good point.
yeah, I even during my studies, and that's already like 10 years ago, I also wrote like a little seminar thesis about like a robot tax because back then Bill Gates was actually
Mhm.
already suggesting that, and I thought it would
Mhm.
be interesting. And yeah, and then I also discussed this a little bit. Like we need, and also like robots are unfairly subsidized by the way we can depreciate capital
Mhm.
uh, compared to human labor.
Mhm.
So they are not only better at everything, they are also
Mhm.
like subsidized by the cap- capital system.
Mhm.
So it's really like they will take over if they are capable enough. Um, and yeah, we need to we need to really think about hard how to distribute the wealth of the people who
Mhm.
have everything.
Yeah. Well, no, you're I mean, it's and that's these are some big problems, and we're just here trying to make video games.
Wait, what are we doing? We are doing what video games?
But it's true. And I mean, the thing that's interesting and kind of cool to me though is like I think about like, housing and things like that. It's like, well, you just if it's just the robots that build everything, I mean, basically you just say I want to live here and then within 6 months a robots go out there and build the thing and it should cost you almost nothing because of you're not having to pay for labor. Labor is the most expensive thing. Like
Mhm.
that is the most expensive thing. So when you start to eliminate labor, things get much more not least expensive, unless there's obviously a massive monopoly. Then somebody else sets the price on everything, and then
Yeah.
you're kind of you're fucked. And then, but man, it's a weird thing to think about. That's for sure, because it's when you do play the scenario out, that's the obvious direction that we're headed in. Unless the singularity event happens and the AI is more like malevolent or loves us and treats us more like a pet and takes over themselves, and they become a new, kind of where there's humans and there's animals, and then there's this party that participates in this world, which is just the AI. It's just the robots with their
Yeah.
own sentient type of existence that participate and don't kill us, and they look at us like a pet.
I saw because you said pet. I saw a very funny interview with Geoffrey Hinton lately, and he said the best case scenario is um, we are like a dumb CEO because the AI is like our assistant that actually does everything, and we think, oh, we actually did great. We are so good at running this company because everything works, but actually we're just delegating to the AI, and the AI does everything, and we're not even aware of it. That would be the best case scenario. I mean,
Yeah. Oh man, but who knows? I don't know. Anyway, this conversation really went off in all sorts of
yeah.
directions. That's for sure. But this has been a fun conversation.
I could start.
Um,
I could talk about technology all day. It's so fun.
yeah, I'll have you back, and we'll just do a straight up technology talk because I like to talk about that stuff. I'm from I do I've done IT my whole life, so like
Mhm.
working on systems and things like that has been like my profession forever. And then I decided to be like, fuck it, I'm gonna build games. Um, that was the direction I took. But I've always keep up with technology and stuff like that. I love to look at like interesting things that are coming down, quantum computing, and all the different things that are
Mhm.
coming down the pipe. um it's easy to look at things like in a doomer sense, but I think in a way as humans we're still really stupid, and we don't know how to solve the really big problems yet. And so like everything is just kind of like, I don't know, I'll have to really flesh out this thought, but it's just like based I don't think we're ever I just think we're not smart enough to get to the point where things are going to take over, if that makes any sense. I
I
just don't
see.
think we're smart enough. I think we're too dumb for it.
Yeah, we have to make the AI progressively smarter so it can do it
Yeah.
itself.
Yeah.
So we don't have to do
Anyway,
it.
man, hey, let's do a little bit of an outro. Let's have you
Sure.
tell everyone where to find your game, what they should be looking out to, what they should be following. I know you said you do some live streams, so just give everyone a little bit of an outro on where they should find you and what you want them to do.
Sure. Yeah, you can find me on most likely on Twitch under Polar Robin 11, and you can find Rhythmic on Steam. Just yeah, type in the name Rhythmic, like the word is spelled, which is not that easy. So Rhythmic is a hard to spell word. But yeah, come hang out. I also have a Discord. You can find the links also on Twitch, links to YouTube and stuff, and also on Steam, I think. So would love to have you. We can talk about VR and we can talk about technology if you want. I'm always up for that. So yeah, hope to see you.
Yeah. Right on, Robin. This has been a fun episode, and yeah, this has been great.
Thanks for having me.